The effects of the American Revolution on North America. American revolutionaries failed to capture Quebec during the war. The differences between French and English-speaking Canadians assured that Quebec would not voluntarily join the United States. Wealthy merchants ran Halifax with hopes of it becoming a large trading port. This small group of merchants had everything to lose by joining the revolution, so they stayed out. Already, Halifax was an important British naval base. American privateers raided British ships and villages along Nova Scotia's coast. These raids caused so much damage to Nova Scotia's economy that the colony's loyalty to Britain was guaranteed. Not all Americans supported the revolution. Many loyalists were persecuted by revolutionary patriots during the war. After the revolution, 80,000 to 100,000 loyalists left their homes in the States. Many accepted Britain's offer of farmland in the colonies of Quebec, Nova Scotia, and the island of St. John. Between 1783 and 1784, 2,000 Loyalists settled in what would become Quebec. 7,500 Loyalists settled in what would become Ontario, as well as 30,000 Loyalists in Cape Breton, Island of St. John, and St. John River Valley. In the 13 colonies, there were about 500,000 African Americans working as slaves or working on plantations. By offering freedom to the slaves, the Brits hoped to ruin plantations in the American states, weakening the rebels. Many slaves were sold back into slavery after the war. Loyalists brought plenty of slaves to Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. In the war, the First Nations felt they had to choose sides between the American and British. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy chose to keep a neutral position during the fight. The Mohawk leader Joseph Brant disagreed. Joseph Brant visited England as an ambassador in 1755 and made a promise of lands in Quebec if the Mohawks fought with the Brits. Brant led Mohawks and Loyalist fighters against the rebels. When the British lost the war, the 1783 Treaty of Paris recognized American independence and divided British North America. When this happened, the negotiation between Brant and the British was no longer valid. Brant protested in a letter. The British government gave the Haudenosaunee land along the Grand River in southern Ontario. The Mohawks settled in 1784 and helped the Americans in the War of 1812. The remaining British colonies. After 1783, British made an effort to build up their English-speaking colonies because they wanted populations loyal to the British Crown. First Nations and African Americans were the first people welcomed to the North. Because they were refugees, they seemed less likely to challenge the authority of the British government. Although the War of 1812 would have assured that British North America wouldn't be a part of the United States, few people were uncertain of this outcome at the end of the 1700s. The French-speaking Canadians didn't like British rule. The British colonies had very small populations with no unity. People that lived on the East Coast had economic ties with Britain and New England, and they believed they had nothing in common with the inland colonies. This made it difficult to unite these colonies. The Constitutional Act. The Loyalists created problems for the British government. The Loyalists demanded to be ruled by a separate government than French-speaking Canadians. The Constitutional Act in 1791 divided Quebec into two new colonies, Lower Canada and Upper Canada. Lower Canada kept French culture, the Catholic religion, and French civil law. Upper Canada was English speaking and Protestant, with British laws and institutions. The Constitutional Act gave both colonies their own government. These governments were similar to the system that caused the rebellion in the 13 colonies.